Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part 10. Wow. I mean, this talking about like going against type, Christopher Reeve, like he doesn't really play that kind of character. So that was another one. Was he good to
Yeah,
work
he was.
with?
Christopher was. Gil had a bit of a bump with Christopher early on, but Christopher had a particular style of working that once Gil understood what the relationship needed to be,
Yeah.
kind of master slave in a way. Christopher, yeah, he needed he likes having directors kind of put him in his place.
Okay.
It just is just what he needed internally. Um, I
He
remember
liked that
one
in
early.
somewhere. Yeah. I remember him talking about that with Anthony
I remember
Hopkins.
an early conversation we were talking about his wardrobe
Yeah.
and trying to figure out what kind of shirt he would wear. And
Yeah.
he was, even in choosing his wardrobe for that character, Superman was always in the back of his head. What he knew would be what he knew what his, I guess these days we would say Christopher knew what his brand was.
Yeah.
And I guess he intended to continue being Superman for as long as he possibly could. And so he wasn't going to do anything that would wreck his
So he
capacity to
was so
continue
he was
playing
stuck in
Superman.
that mind. I didn't realize. I saw that documentary that they did of him.
Well,
Um,
Superman's an unusual part to have to cast. Now, I mentioned earlier, you cast actors to be, not to
yeah.
act. Now, as Bill explains at the end of Kill Bill 2, what makes Superman unusual is
Yeah.
that Superman's the disguise, Clark Kent's the disguise.
Yeah.
He is organically Superman. So when you go to cast the character, you're not casting Clark Kent, you're casting Superman.
Yeah.
And so the character, in the same way, you can't act being that character. You have to, somewhere in you, you have to be that stalwart, steadfast, somewhat vanilla.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has to be you there. And yet conflict, but it takes because you can't act the part, you have to be a certain way in order in order for you to be successfully cast as Superman. Not like Batman. Batman can be,
Yeah.
you can play that character any number of ways, it'll work. Superman, you're locked in.
It's funny you mentioned that because in that documentary, he talks about how after Superman, he had a hard time getting outside of Superman. And that's why I'm like, here's his chance. And he's still got Superman, though, in
He's
the
not
back
the
of the
first
brain.
Superman actor to have a problem.
No, just look at all of them, most of them. Brandon Routh. I mean, so many of them. David Gordon Sweet, we don't know if it'll hurt him, but
I would suggest it has as much to do with who they are as the part. And it's because of who they are that they got the part.
yeah.
And it's a part that if they can't stretch too much beyond that, or if they, it's not so much their fault. They almost all of them can. The town won't let them. It's not their fault. It's the town. The town gets it in their head that that's who you are. We get sucked into the same
Yeah.
incorrect thinking, yeah, as the audience does. That Superman, he can't do that. No, he's an actor.
But you were kind of asking him though to go out of that with this part.
That was the nature of our casting. We always cast
Yeah.
against type.
But he seems like he's reluctant to do it. So like you're saying it's the town, but he's got the chance, you know? I don't know. It's
Actors are
complicated.
very
I know.
complicated, conflicted people.
I know.
You probably know this for a
I
fact.
know that. I know. Yeah.
I'm not telling you anything you don't already know organically.
But that's interesting that he was that, because I saw you guys pushing him outside of Superman in this. He was trying to, but he's still kind of, I see what you mean. He's still kind of Clark Kent in there. He's not, yeah, it's still there.
Yeah,
It's
it's
interesting.
always, yeah, there's always something dressed up hiding who he really is.
Interesting. What about the one I watched the one that you did with Dylan McDermott, where it's almost like a film noir type film, where he's got the thing. I thought that was a really interesting one because you had the whole vaccine thing, but it struck me so much as film noir. Was that kind of what you were going for with that one?
Oh,
forget what the
always.
name
Well,
of it was.
noir is baked into the source material, so
Yeah.
very natural for us to be noir-ish. That was also half the fun. We were
Yeah.
always flirting with noir, if not outright sleeping with it.
And Dylan, the way his voice came out in the monologues, it really felt, noirish. It was just, yeah. Last one I want to talk about is so you guys moved. Why did you move the series to England? What was the motivation behind that?
It was a combination of two things. Well, we had in the total canon of Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, crime suspense stories, the 5 different comic book series titles that we drew from. There were about 230 some odd comic books, but of the 230, about 110 were useful.
Yeah.
The majority were stories that were, even as comic books. Oh, that's so lame. No. It was, and it's a comic book, so it's good for 5 minutes of material, maybe. So you're going to have to create the whole world. Of the remaining 110 comic books that we had to work from, there are 6 story types, 5 or 6 story types, and everything is a variation on the theme after those 5 or 6 types, with diminishing, to diminishing effect. After you've done it once or twice, the gag is the gag, the gag is the gag. So by the time we got into the later seasons, we were getting tired. The feature films were taking their toll on the creative process. We did the 7th season after we came back from Vancouver after shooting Bordello of Blood. And Joel was still angry at the IA, so I'm not even going to shoot the last season in Los Angeles. We're going to go, hey, there's a good idea. Let's go to London.
Was it always intended to be the last season? 7th?
Yeah, I think because we were supposed to move on from there. HBO had we were going to do the sci-fi series. So episode 7 was agreed it was going to be the last, and we were going to all segue together, one big happy family, into whatever the sci-fi show was going to be. So
but you guys weren't going to move the Crypt Keeper to sci-fi. You could get
whole new creation. The Crypt, we were done with the Crypt. We had 90 some odd episodes in the can.
Yeah.
We're going to start building a new franchise from the ground up. So going to England was in part a screw you to the IA again. It was in part, hey, this is a nice way to freshen it up. It sounded like a cool idea. It was bad for our crew, which made it suck.
You talk about the
taking it over. It was fun being there, but it was not fun doing the show there because our methodology, our process was not, it didn't translate easily. We would work, we would shoot 3 days in and 2 days, 3 days in and 2 days out.
Yeah.
So we would give, because Greg Melton, our amazing production designer, we don't have any standing sets. We're an anthology. Every episode, it's a whole new world that has to be created from the jump.
Yeah.
That takes time to build the sets. And so, we would do 2 days out, in essence, to give Greg additional time to get the sets done. Sorry, I just went up. What episode were we talking about?
We're talking about moving the series to England.
Oh yeah, okay. So building sets is relatively is cheap and easy in Los Angeles because lumber.
Yeah.
And guys would show up, they'd get out of their 4x4s or their trucks, and they'd get all the tools you could possibly want that we were renting from them. They'd take it in and get to work. In England, first of all, wood's really expensive. Really expensive. Most of the set building they do, there's the thing called speed rail. It's metal. They don't build sets the way we do. So right off the bat, great locations there. Hey, you want a castle? You don't got to build a castle. Go find a castle. When construction crews show up for the day to do their work, they've just gotten off the tube, the subway, the metro, and they show up, tools. yeah, where are the tools, guys? We didn't have any tools. So, for Gil and I,
It sounds like what Cameron went through when he was doing Aliens. He said, they would, as soon as it was tea time, they would break for tea time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we will get to that too. Yeah. It's funny when we, so our crew, we had to get tools for them. When we just began, our production manager was a guy named Christopher. I don't know what his last name. And Christopher he had worked as the English production manager on a show called King's Cross, I think, which was a medieval show with an American unit, and he was the English production manager. And so we hired him because he had experience working with Americans, but he had the bad habit of never wanting to upset us. So he would tell us stuff that wasn't true just because he didn't want to upset us. No. he very quickly had no idea where we were financially. We were, but when we were just starting up, we were talking about, okay, for the craft services table, he said, look, for the morning when the lads come in, we'll give them, they'll have a choice between coffee and tea, of course, but where the biscuits are concerned, he said, we should just give them a biscuit, but the problem is if you put the tin on the table, they'll take more than one. So his suggestion was to give them a biscuit and not put the tin on the table and that was odd to us. I remember my first year on Tales from the Crypt. We had to go visit Bob Zemeckis as the set of the movie. He was shooting, oh God, was it Love to Death? The one with Meryl Streep and Cher and Bruce Willis going up on the top.
Are you talking about Death Becomes Her?
Death Becomes Her. Thank you. Yes. He was shooting Death Becomes Her. So we went onto the set of Death Becomes Her for a little while to hang out with Bob and talk about things. And I remember walking over to Bob's craft services table. You could feed a small country with the what coming off that table. I mean, there were gourmet meals on that craft services table. Our craft services table was much humbler by comparison. Joe Silver used to refer to our craft services table as gum and water. So when you compare our gum and water table to what they wanted to have on our English set, it was like, what?
So now it's just gum.
Truly, just water or gum. There's your choice. You can't have both.
I'm sorry, we're not going to put the tin there because they may take more than one. So what, we're going to just hand everybody out their food? Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.